Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Gen Z Auto. My name is Brendan, and I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. Bittersweet moment for the channel. If you've been watching the videos, you know we have an RS5 in the garage, and we had a 2012 991 Porsche Carrera S in the garage, but we lost her. She's on to a better place. She found a new home, and she will no longer be with us. However, we have a special treat, man. Roxanne has moved on, and we added another family member to the garage. And I would like to introduce to the channel my 2016 AMG GTS Sophia. To my Porsche fanboys and fangirls, I'm sorry. I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy to trade my 911 in for a Mercedes, but let's dig a little deeper to what this actually is. It's not really a Mercedes. So if you haven't done a lot of research on AMGs and Mercedes, let me educate you a little bit. So AMG is basically born out of passion. The story behind AMG is that, AMG actually stands for Aufreich Mercedes Großes. So Aufreich and Mercedes were Mercedes engineers who were a part of a special division that would take Mercedes cars and prepare them for the racetrack. Mercedes ended up cutting the project, and basically the two engineers said, bump this, let's go start our own thing. And Aufreich Mercedes started a shop in Großes, and that's how you get AMG. It's definitely a passion, and you can feel that energy is, that mentality is woven in the fabric of this car. Everything about it is emotional. It's not really, whereas traditional AMG cars are Mercedes, for instance, like the C63 AMG is a Mercedes car. So you do get a lot of that luxury and the focus of Mercedes as a brand in that AMG product. But this is born strictly from AMG. Mercedes doesn't make a GT. And let's dive into a little bit of why I ultimately made the decision to sell the Porsche for this car, and take you on the ins and outs. So Gen Z fam, some of you may understand why this was an appropriate trade for the Carrera, and then some may not. So to those who are kind of on the fence about why would I trade a Porsche for a Mercedes, let me dig a little bit deeper. So first, let's talk about the GT lineup. The GT lineup is Mercedes/AMG's direct answer to the 911, meaning it's supposed to compete with the Carrera, Carrera S, the Carrera GTS, or the Targa, GT3, all the different trim levels that the 911 has. As you get with the Carrera, the trim levels, you get that same different bespoke / customization with the Mercedes AMG, and the trim levels, the power, the options, etc., etc. So the GTR comes in a few trim levels. In the GT, which is the base model, which can be compared to the Carrera. Here I have the GTS, which is what's in front of you right now. You have the GTC, and the GTR, and the GT Black Series. So like I said, the GT can be compared to like a 911 Carrera base model. You're going to get all the luxury and the styling of the car, but not necessarily the peak performance. You got the GTS, which can be compared to probably the 911 GTS as well, not really a Carrera S. And then you got the GTR, or the GTC, which is like the GT competition, which is more power, a larger track, a larger car. And yeah, but it's really a little bit closer, more closer to the GTS than the GTR. And then you have the top dog, well, not really anymore, but what was a top dog in the GTR, which is kind of like the racing variant of the GT. And then you really have the top dog in the GT Black Series, which was just released. And if I'm not mistaken, it's Mercedes' most powerful AMG ever. So, and I actually seen one in person. I'll actually get Gabe to put it up on the screen, and it is very impressive, very aggressive, and it's basically a race car. It's not even, you know, a road car at that point, but you can drive it on the road. But yeah, that's going to answer the part that, you know, as far as why we gave up the Porsche for the AMG, as far as just the one-to-one exchange for car enthusiasts. Now, there's personal reasons why it was a much easier decision for me that I'll get into later in the video, but I just kind of wanted to bring that up in case, you know, a lot of you haven't really heard much about this car, what it is. Now, I'll start my bit about the styling off with this. Even this video is not going to do this car any justice. This is one of these cars that you really just got to see in person in the 3D world, where you can see how the body lines accentuate the car. They bring presence to the car, but it's also very subtle. This car definitely is an eye catcher on the road, put very lightly. One reason being that you don't see a lot of them, and the other reason being that it's just a beautiful car. It has so much road presence, and it's very dynamic, meaning it can be subtle when you want it, but at the end of the day, it is an AMG, and it's going to do AMG stuff. The body lines on this car are just unmatched because they're not really solid. You know, like I said, this is a competitor for the 911. So the 911 is not really a hard car. That silhouette is very it has a good fluidity, and is very timeless. And I think the Mercedes designers were going after that. They wanted something that would be muscular but have fluidity and be timeless. And I feel like you capture that with this car. Because of these prominent and very dominant long swooshing body lines, it changes colors in the light, because there's some parts of the car that grab light and there's some parts of the car that reflect light, and you really get to see that in person, which is why I highly recommend that you go see one of these in person if you're thinking about buying one, that you just don't get in pictures. And I hope that you kind of see that as we walk around the car. Now, styling, yes, you're gonna, when I first got the car, as far as the rear end goes, at a quick glance, I actually thought it was a Porsche because of the long tail lights, the wide rear end, and the sloping back. But when you take a closer look and you really get to appreciate it, it's its own thing. It's different. There's similarities, but then there's not, pretty much. Even as I stand beside it, it's not like you can really compare it to other traditional short boot, long bonnet cars like the SLS, the Aston Martin, Vanquish, the Jaguars, all those other short tail, long bonnet cars, because it's just its own thing. And you really get to appreciate that as you see the body lines morph with the light. I apologize if this car is not clean. It's been really crappy weather lately, but we still wanted to push this video out. So subjectively, I think this car is actually a better looking car than the 911 that I had. There's going to be people that disagree. There's going to be people that agree. But when I walk to this car, because of the sheer size, it's just more appealing for me. The 911 was definitely a very sexy and cool car, but it's a 911. Like, this is new, and you definitely feel that when you walk up on it. Just want to give a huge shout out to Fabi and Rao. If you're watching, I appreciate it, man. You did a good job. But yeah, all AMG engines are hand assembled. All the technicians have a master's degree, so these guys really know what they're doing. But this car does not drive how it looks. If you look at it from the outside, it's got a short boot, long bonnet. It just looks clumsy. It doesn't look like it's athletic. It looks like it's just a cool car that's going to cover a lot of miles, like a Grand Tour. And in a sense, this is a good GT car, but be not mistaken. This is a thoroughbred sports car, and I would go as far to even say racing car in some sense. If we come from the side, all this black stuff that's up front is not the engine. That's your airbox / intercoolers and heat exchangers and stuff like that. The engine actually starts right here, which is behind the front axle. So it gives you a very athletic, nimble, capable driving experience. So much so that that balance is carried throughout the car. Unlike traditional front engine cars or even front mid engine cars, this actually has a transaxle, meaning the engine is right here. Okay, come with me. And the transmission is back here. The power is transferred via a carbon fiber drive axle. Really, really top-notch stuff. And what this does is it actually allows the car to have a rear end weight bias. So it's actually 53% rear, 47 front. So it's really nimble. I mean, it doesn't drive how it looks. Like I said, it drives like it should be, kind of like it drives like it wants to push through a corner. For all my driving enthusiasts, you know what that means. It drives like it's going to push straight through a corner. But it rotates very well. The power is very smooth, and yeah, it's extremely nimble. So to all my car guys out there and car gals, you know, like, this car looks like it wants to push through a corner, like it wants to do a lot of understeering. Like when you turn the wheels, it's going to keep going because, you know, the long hood, you would think that all that is full of engine and transmission, but it doesn't drive like that, which is why this car is so remarkable to me to drive and to look at. It can change directions even though it looks like it shouldn't be able to change directions. And that's just very special, and you can't really experience that unless you're in the car. All right, so picking up where Gabe is, right where the wheels are, we actually have the AMG titanium wheels as on the option sheet. Now I don't really know if they're titanium or it's just kind of like a spec option, but at least that's what it says. But I want to say, more than the wheels, what really was a selling point specifically for me for this car is, you guessed it, these carbon ceramic brakes. I told myself my next car was going to have carbon ceramic brakes for so many reasons. And for those who are not really familiar with why carbon ceramic brakes are so good, I'll give you a couple reasons why. One, they're lighter than traditional steel rotors, meaning you have less unsprung mass, so the tire can actually do more work instead of managing the weight of the disc and the wheels. They don't create as much brake dust. And then as far as performance, you don't get a lot of brake fade with carbon ceramic brakes. They're built for the track. You can reuse them. They don't overheat, and they're just a must on somebody that does a lot of spirited and a lot of performance driving. It's almost a must to have carbon ceramic brakes. Another telltale sign that this is a little bit more than a Grand Tourer is this active aero. At speed, I think 75 miles an hour, it deploys automatically, but you can also lock it out with the push of a button. And I'll say, I don't know, like, at speed it may do something, but around low speed corners, I don't really know how much extra downforce it applies, but nevertheless, it's a necessity to have on a car like this that's going to be doing high speeds. You want to keep that tail end down. You don't want a lot of oscillatory motion. You want to have the aero force. You want to use the aero force to help you, because this car will generate a lot of speed. I think top speed on this car is 193 miles an hour, and it can be tuned for more power and more speed. Nice touch. I'll say I'm a bigger fan of the fixed wing on the GTR than this automated, active aero thing, but it's still a nice touch to the car. It definitely adds that race heritage and aggressiveness to the car when you're doing some spirited driving.